In the USA, you've got the S&P 500, Dow Jones Industrial Average and Nasdaq Composite. The UK, it's the FTSE 100, 250 and All Share. In France, it's the CAC 40, nice name. Germany, the DAX. Hong Kong has the Hang Seng. And Japan, the Nikkei 225. With so many indexes in existence, the question is obvious. How many index funds should you buy? Well, like all questions worth asking, the answer is, of course, it depends. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the answer might be different depending on what strategy you want to take. One of the key ingredients to investing is diversification. Investing in lots of different types of assets so that not all of your eggs are in one basket, right? So you can spread your risk and manage your blood pressure as the markets bobble up and down faster than a pair of hookers' knickers. Can I say that? I can always edit it out. Index funds are a great way of helping to do this because investing in one of these gets you exposure to lots of different assets and at a low cost too, thereby increasing your diversification. What all index funds have in common is that they are tracking a market index, like some of the examples I gave to you at the top of this video. They're passively managed, meaning what's in the fund is made up entirely of what's in the index, i.e., no one is choosing one stock over another in an attempt to give you outperformance over the market. But where they differ from one another all comes down to the underlying index that they are tracking. And having an understanding of this will help you decide how many index funds you want to include in your portfolio. There's really three key things you need to understand to get to the bottom of this question. Number one, what's in each index? Number two, what you want your portfolio to invest in? And number three, how involved you want to be in choosing. Let's talk a little about what's in each index first. The US is the most tracked market, perhaps unsurprisingly. But apparently there are 5,000 different indexes in the US alone. Now, I tried to research and find a full list of all these indexes, and I couldn't find one, so somebody could be entirely pulling my leg there. But the three most tracked indexes are those that I mentioned earlier: the S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and the Nasdaq Composite. The S&P 500 is the 500 top companies based in the US. And by top, they mean biggest, pretty much, by size in terms of value, although there are some other components that come into it, but let's not get bogged down with that. And because of the size of these companies, the S&P 500 actually represents something like 80% of the US market as a whole. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is a much smaller index. It contains 30 of the most influential companies in the US. It's best known for big blue chip companies and regular dividend payers too. But it would be fair to say that this index is not as broad a representation of the US market as a whole as the S&P 500 is. And then the Nasdaq Composite is something different again. This is almost entirely about technology stocks, although actually not completely. And it even contains some companies that are not based in the US. This tends to be a more speculative and volatile index than the other two. So different countries have different indexes, and the companies that are in those indexes tend to be based in that country, although as you've seen, that's not always the case. And sometimes indexes can be sector-specific as well as geography-based. It really depends how broad or narrow the index that you are exposing yourself to. I probably can't say exposing yourself to, can I? Let's try that again. It really depends how broad or narrow the index is as to what you will be investing in. And it's really important to understand this to help get to the bottom of the question, how many index funds should you buy? And also, indexes aren't just about stocks either. There are bond indexes too, just to add to your dilemma. So let's move on to what you want your portfolio to be invested in. One way of creating a fully globally diversified portfolio would be to go through all the different countries and their indexes, get out your crystal ball, give it a good old rub, Mystic Meg style, and decide on the percentage that you want to allocate to each different marketplace depending on your opinion of which marketplaces you think are going to do better than others. And then you would just start to buy corresponding index funds to suit. This could see you with quite a lot of index funds, and there are plenty of people that like this approach. The big advantage it has is it gives you much more control over your portfolio, as you can tweak and change the individual elements within it to suit any changes that you want to make. Let me show you. You've done some research and you've decided you want your portfolio to look like this: 30% in US stocks, 10% in UK stocks, 10% in Europe, 5% in Japan, and 5% emerging market stocks. So in total, 60% of your portfolio in stocks. Then maybe the remaining 40% you want like this: 20% in global bonds, 10% in UK bonds, 5% in emerging market bonds, and 5% in, say, a commodity like gold, for example. Now, before anyone takes too much notice of that, I have literally pulled that portfolio out of thin air. Please do not take it as any kind of suggestion. Remember, this is not financial advice. If we wanted to build this portfolio using solely passive index funds and we want maximum control over its core components, we'd now need to start looking for index funds that target these specific areas. Firing up the Trading 212 app and having a look at the available funds, we could invest 30% in, say, this, the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, or VUSA for short. That's assuming you're happy for your US focus to be S&P 500. If not, you'd have to look for some other index fund that tracks some of the other indexes. You'd then maybe put 10% in this, the Vanguard FTSE 100, or VOOC. Again, provided you're happy with your UK focus being FTSE 100, and so on and so on. The truth is, depending on what platform you're using, sometimes it can be quite a challenge to find a fund that totally fits the brief, like gold, for example. Here on Trading 212, we could look at something like this, the iShares Physical Gold Fund, as an idea. Sound like a lot of work? Yeah, it can be. But the big advantage of doing it like this means that you can go overweight and underweight in specific areas, depending on whether you want to be more or less invested in certain markets at any one time. For example, if I thought the UK was really undervalued and there was lots of opportunity here, and I also felt at the same time that the US was very overvalued, what I would do is simply sell some of my US fund in favour of buying some more of my UK fund to skew the portfolio in that direction. Naysayers will say, you're not Mystic Meg, you don't know what's going to happen, so it's probably in vain, and why bother? Putting that argument to one side for a minute, if you're sat there thinking, I've got much better things to be doing with my time than researching this lot, then don't worry, there is a simpler solution. And I think if you're a beginner, this is probably a better place to start. In short, there are index funds designed to track global markets to save you rummaging around like a swinger in a bowl of keys looking for individual indexes. Here's some examples to give you a flavour. The FTSE All-World UCITS ETF, or VWRL to its friends, has about 3,900 holdings across 50 different countries in both developed and emerging markets. And then for your bond allocation, you could look at this. The Global Aggregate Bond UCITS ETF, or VAGP to its friends, has about 7,800 different investment grade and government bonds from around the globe. So depending on exactly what you want in terms of the percentage allocations in your portfolio, you could find yourself with just a handful of index funds. But if you want to get really involved and have more control over the key components, you could end up with a lot more. And that's why my answer is, it depends. The thing is though, and if you only take one thing from this video, any of these strategies will get you there or thereabouts, as long as diversification remains at the heart of what you're looking to build. If the complexity of investing is putting you off getting started at all, then simplify it. Find the easiest, most straightforward route for you that you're comfortable with in order to get started, because otherwise you're missing out. The earlier you start, the better. But this is all only one piece of the puzzle. Passive index fund investing is one strategy, but you can't look to build the perfect investment portfolio that will see you retired faster than all of your friends unless you've considered all options. So if you watch this video, I take a look at active investing and comment on why you perhaps shouldn't rule it out entirely. Watching this video next will make you better informed and hey, may even turn you into Mystic Meg.